I say humans. Do you know any of them? Have you met any of these things called human? Do you think you are one? I tried to find a few pictures of some in case you needed identification. I think that's the way most humans look, somewhere in that. Humans come in all shapes and sizes. They come in all colors and various skills and various levels of intelligence and rationale and logic. One of the unique things that you and I do with humans is we tend to separate them from identity to entity. I don't know if you've ever thought about these two words juxtaposed side by side, but we do this a lot with humans that we know. We don't really give them an identity. We stick them in an entity. Just for sake of clarification, if you look up the definition of those two words in Webster's, entity will be described, number 3 definition, as an organization such as a business or a government unit that has an identity separate from its members, and then identity is the distinguishing character or personality of an individual, which I think you understand by now why I say most humans you and I just assign an entity to. By entity, I'm talking about the things that we get involved in, we're part of. We speak of people based on the business that they run and the company they work for, the job that they have, or their trade or their skill. We speak of them as their family, their relatives. We identify them with their groups or their spouses. We identify them by the church or the brand of church they go to. The denomination, Protestant or Catholic, is just the first of the splits we make. Sometimes we identify them by their clubs or their social groups, and sometimes on Facebook, well, never mind, cities and states and countries. Where are you from? Oh, you're from Arkansas. That explains a lot. No, it doesn't. That's an individual you're talking to with his own identity, but you assign him to the state. I hope Brenda doesn't mind, but I was talking to her this morning at breakfast. She's half Apache. That is so unbelievably awesome. Except nobody believes it, nobody understands it. There's no place to check on government boxes, and so people will address her in Spanish in a restaurant and think that she should understand her culture. Her culture is not Hispanic. Her culture is Apache. And I said this morning, if it was Michael instead of her, he'd just say, I'm bringing a tomahawk next time I come in here, and we'll split your brow with it, and then you'll get the difference. But we just do, we assign people an entity. You understand what I mean by this? Not a identity. We put them in race categories. They're black, they're white, they're Asian, they're brown, they're anything apparently except Indian. And then we assign them to health conditions. Oh, they're sick a lot. Are they survivors or whatever? If we focus too much on entities, people no longer seem human to us. They're simply part of something else, and that something else is enough for us to identify them and judge them and categorize them and analyze them, and then we can like them or dismiss them based on the entity we have assigned to them. Oh, they're black, or they're white, or Hispanic or Asian. They're Catholics or Pentecostals or Baptists, or they're lawyers or doctors or health nuts or slobs, in my case, or nitpickers or control freaks or whatever. But the thing is, they're humans, and we forget the value of humans because we stick them under an entity instead of allowing them to have the identity of just who they are. And so there's a roundabout purpose to all this today, and I'll cut to the chase partly just to tell you that Christ did not die for any entity. He died for the sins of and to save humans. Humans. He died to save humans, not for entities. He did not omit any. He did not include any entities. He didn't carry the cross up Golgotha's rugged hill, and with every laborious step, he didn't say, I'm just going to do this for governors and rulers, or I'm going to do this for my people. I'm going to do this for my peeps, my Jews. He didn't say, well, I'm going to do this for the church. One day there'll be a good church, and it'll justify my dying on Calvary. You understand the hint of what I'm offering? He didn't say, I'm just going to do this for the white Europeans. They'll be the race of, that's the class I'm going to. None of that ever entered his brain because it never crossed his lips. He trudged up Golgotha's hill for one simple purpose, and that was humans. Humans. Doesn't matter where you came from. Doesn't matter what color you are. Doesn't matter what your family and your pedigree is. Doesn't matter what your skill set is. It doesn't matter what you are. It only matters who you are. You are living, breathing humans. And everything Christ did, he did for humans. Because of that, humans really need him. Regardless of your strength, you need him. Regardless of your entity, you need him. And so I really just want to kind of talk to you today about humans and whether you've spoken to a human ever about Jesus. Have you? I know you've spoken to humans, but sometimes we'll talk to a human and we'll just say things like, you go to church? That's fine. But Jesus didn't die on Calvary for this church or any church. And he didn't die so that we could have a line to introduce ourselves to somebody or talk to them. You go to church, that's good. It's nothing wrong. Not bad, not evil, not wicked, not a sin. It's just not getting to the real purpose and the meaning of why Christ went to Calvary. And so you and I sometimes just struggle with the idea of all people being absolutely equal and all people being the very reason why Jesus Christ died. If your Facebook friends are like some of mine, you really have to struggle to find equality. I have racist friends, and it will surprise you, but I have them both colors. I have some black racist friends on Facebook. I have some white racist friends on Facebook. It always upsets me and irritates me when I see somebody being categorized by an entity instead of being allowed to stand for who they are. I was talking to somebody just recently in a restaurant one morning, and he found out that I was a minister, breakfast, uninvited guest, and he found out that I was a pastor. So then his course was to try to impress me with what he had done and what he was doing for the Lord. And he started right off by saying, you know, I spoke to a drug addict recently. And I thought while he was saying that, I wonder if that was necessary. I wonder if the story would have had just as much value and meaning to me and meant as much from him if he'd have just said, I talked to a human the other day about God. But I spoke to a drug addict about God. And I have. You have too. So just bear with me. It's just a moot point. We're moving on past. But I just want to stress again how we just put people in categories. And because we do, it affects their value to us. I mean, y'all know that a really, really bad drug addict, you know Jesus didn't enjoy dying for them as much as he enjoyed dying for you. You understand the point I'm making? They're drug addicts. My God, every family's got one. And you can't stand them. And it's easier to not stand them because they're drug addicts. They're not like humans. Right? I mean, good Lord, they're homeless people. Y'all made some bags. I like the bags. We can roll the window down and throw them at them. It's so cool. They don't come over and get, I'm just pulling your leg a little bit, all right? Don't come over and take this money out of my hand. Hey, catch this. Christianity done, leprosy avoided. I'm a good man. I'm going to heaven. got a star. Because I put a little tract in there for the homeless man. Everybody knows Jesus didn't go to Calvary for homeless, smelly people. Why would he? You think Jesus would have gone up Calvary's nasty, rugged hill and died for some old smelly goat under a bridge? Human. Somebody say human. I can tell already this ain't going anywhere and it ain't going to be pretty. But the good thing is Julie's not going to have to work along upstairs. We're going to be done here pretty quick. I spoke to a Jehovah's Witness the other day. No, I spoke to a human. Sometimes people come to me and they'll ask me a question. Is there anything I can do for the church? Yeah. You want to mow? You want to paint? Don't confuse that, however, with doing anything for Jesus. Okay, we need a lot of stuff done around the church. Kenny Boy can't do it all. The Good Church Fairy only shows up once a month. Y'all didn't believe there was a Good Church Fairy, but there he is. Trust me, there he is. Once a month, the Good Church Fairy will just fly by and she'll stop and see what needs to be done. She'll get it done. Most time it's Kenny. So he can always use help. You know, paint, the fence out there needs painting at the front. Got to mow 6 acres out of 9 every week. He does a good job. See all those piles out there raked up? Kenny didn't do those. The Good Church Fairy did that. Gutters, got the rain gutters on the youth building this week. Good Church Fairy came up and did that. Thank goodness for that fairy. But when people say, is there anything I can do for the church? Sometimes people think that doing something for the church is like doing something for Jesus. But Jesus didn't die for the church. Jesus did not die on Calvary so we could have a building and put carpet on the floor and come in here and sing songs and hear sermons. Jesus died for a human to have a shot at salvation. And so it's okay. Thank you for working at the church and helping out and all that stuff's great. That's great. But don't ever confuse that with doing the Christ, because the work of Christ is always something about humans. It's never about the church and business and bills and carpet and chairs, and that's the work of management. That's not the work of Jesus. And if Jesus was to respond like I do sometimes, Jesus would say, well, a better question is, what have you done for a human this week? And so I'm just going to ask you, what would Jesus want you to do? If you weren't going to come mow and paint, what would Jesus want you to do for a human? It's a good question to ask. It's a fair question to ask. And I'll preface by just asking you to just run back in your brain a little bit. I'm not really trying to be silly with a word, but when's the last time you did something for a human? You understand what I mean? I'm kind of playing with you, and I'm kind of not. But you know, if you rolled your window down under a bridge, did you see a human, or did you just do something because it was a thing to do? We got bags to do it with. How long has it been since you actually just looked at a person and no identification and no classification and no analysis, just there is a human being. And that person Christ died for just as much as he died for me. And the value of me, that I think he died for me, he placed that same value on that human. And if that human had been the only human on planet Earth, he would have still died for that human. And can you assign that much quality to your drug addict friend, to your alcoholic relative, to the homeless, smelly person that you can't stand to be around? Can you assign that much value to them? I like the little cartoon. I asked Jesus, Jesus asked me how much I loved him, and I said, I love you this much. How much you love me? And he said, I love you this much. And he stretched out his arms and died. It's a cute little saying and a cute little cartoon. I love you this much, only for him. There were nail prints in his hand when he stretched his hands out to say, this is how much I love you. And sometimes it's easier for me to think, well, that's me. He loves me that much. I can't imagine that he loves Muslims. That's an entity that even God doesn't love. Isn't that sad? You think Jesus didn't die for a group of people because they belonged to a group? You think Calvary was just about you and not all humans? What would Jesus want us to do for a human? Let me just turn your attention to Matthew 25. I have changed a couple of words. I put the ones I changed in white. I didn't change the meaning. I just wanted you to get the point today, so I made sure those words there fit my vocabulary for this sermon today. Matthew 25:31, when the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, then he will sit in his glorious throne. And before him will be gathered all the entities, all the groups, all the nations, all the people will be gathered in front of him, the entities. It says nations and kingdoms. But he will separate, not nation by nation, not color by color, but he will separate the individual humans, one from another. Not entity, one entity from another. He will separate every individual just as simply. He will simply say, sheep, goat, left, right, left, right. I'm being figurative. He'll do it all mysteriously and spiritually, but this is the picture he wanted us to have in our mind. He will separate individual humans one from another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will place the sheep on his right, but the goats on his left. And then the king will say to the humans on his right, come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. And he's not finished. Then he explains to them why they got to go over here. Because I was hungry. Now you notice we didn't skip any verses. Christ just separated individual people, right, left. Then he turns to the ones on the right to explain to them why you were selected to the right. And here's what he said. Because I was hungry and you gave me food. That just sounds like a human thing, doesn't it? I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came to me. And then the righteous humans will answer him saying, Lord, when did we ever see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? And when did we ever see you as a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? And when did we ever see you or in prison and visit you? And the king will answer them, truly I say unto you. Now look at this last line carefully. As you did it to one of the least of these humans. Everybody say human. As you do things to humans, you do them to me. I don't know if the power of that verse ever sinks into our brains right. And I don't know if it's going to today. It's the reason I chose the comical word humans instead of mankind. I could have just said man, but we tend to think, oh, male. And some of you ladies in here would probably get all up in a dither. Does he mean male? Man shall not live by bread alone. Well, what about woman? Woman must have milk. to sop her bread with. It's not about male and female. The word man is a gender-neutral phrase 9 times out of 10 in the Scripture. It was just referring to mankind. Man shall not live by bread alone doesn't mean males versus females. It means people. So human's a good substitute. Humans cannot live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. Humans are who Christ died for. Humans are who he will separate right and left at the great judgment coming. And to the humans to whom he wants to save, he will say to those humans, here's why I saved you. Oh, it could be because I hit it too many times. And you said, well, we didn't do that. I mean, we would have. We wouldn't have turned you away, but we didn't do that. When? And he said, clever that he was. Remember when you did it to that woman and that man and that human and that human? And remember the least one? Remember that smelly one? And remember that one that had no chance in life and everybody else hated? And you took them. Well, inasmuch as you did it to the least of these other humans, I counted it as you doing it to me. Now, I don't know. I told you this is not going to be good today. You're not going to like it. And don't worry, we're nearing the end. So according to Jesus and his word, what would we do for humans? We'd do things like feed them, give them drink, speak to them even if you don't know them, give them clothes if they need them, tend to their illnesses, go see them in prison. He didn't make it a complicated list, did he? He didn't beat around the bush and say, oh, I don't know how to explain this to you. I don't mean everybody. I mean, there's some people you need to abandon and give up on God. There's a handful of people I really did not die for, but you know, you'll find them if you're spiritually discerning. The Holy Ghost will help you discern which people to shun and hate, which people to take in and help. I know we live that way. We don't have to agree and acknowledge it and say amen, but I know we live that way. I just prayed and I just believe the Lord said, have thou nothing to do with that person. And I'm just not going to ever help them again. Don't ever ask me for an offering for that person. Okay. Okay, we won't. Here's what we do for humans. Trying to fulfill what Christ did. We question why they're hungry. Why do you think they wound up under that bridge, Pastor? There's a reason they're there. I know. I ain't going to pull $1 out of my pocket either and give to them because they deserve to be where they are. We wonder what they're drinking. What's in that cup? What are they going to do with my 50 cents? We stay away from strangers. We make sure we never speak to them, and we don't want our children speaking to them. God bless us. We should be very careful with our children. Even though there's a verse that says entertain strangers, because sometimes you entertain angels unaware. Criticize the clothing taste of people, which I do a lot. I've offered to buy some of you girls some new pants because they have holes in them. And then I realized my daughter recently said, can y'all help me with the kids? I got to go buy some new pants. I tore mine, and we met her at the store. I couldn't tell where she tore them. They were torn everywhere. No, don't you understand? See this one right here, this is an accidental tear. It's not frayed around the edges. Well, then fray it so it looks like the other ones. Bought a pair of new pants with frayed holes in them. That's just silly. That's what I do. I criticize clothing. I avoid people when they're sick. God knows I might get sick from them. I avoid all of you people. If you cough too much today, I'll go to the other side of the room. I have had many occasion over the years to watch people become paranoid. I wonder how people think doctors survive. Have you ever wondered how your doctor is still alive? You and all the people you avoid walk right into his little rooms, confined, small room, coughing germs, can't even get out of that little tiny room, and the doctor walks right in with you sitting there, and the doctor says, open up, let me look in there a little bit. Why would he do that? He'd die. Only he doesn't. Something in his nature and his heart made him decide that's the field he wanted to be in, and he went into that field to care for people and take care of them. God bless him. And good Christian folk with a mandate from Jesus himself. I put the sheep over on my right and saved them for heaven, and then I explained to him, hey, when I was sick, you came to me and helped me. No, when did we do it? Because you did it to that girl next door. Everybody else was afraid to go call on. You treated her like a human instead of an entity. Sick people I avoid. You just treated her like one more human. There's a reason people go to prison, and a good reason. Let them rot in there. You ain't going to catch me down there trying to talk to them. What would Jesus want you to do for a human? I just threw another few pictures of humans up there. They're just various kinds of humans. Some of them probably need food. Some of them probably drunk too much. Some of them probably ran away from home. Some of them might not even know they're supposed to wear some clothes occasionally, or might wear them if they had them. It's just a thumbnail sketch of humans. Everybody up there is a human. And if you're not sure that humans are ignored and neglected, then you've got a very comfortable existence. You just get in your car in your driveway or garage every morning, and you drive blindfolded to a nice clean place of work somewhere without having to pass through bad neighborhoods. And then you work in a nice clean place all day and get back in your car, hurry back and run eat at a nice clean restaurant close by, and that's it. But I challenge you sometime, if you're just curious, just drive to downtown Houston any morning of the week and just park and just kill a couple of hours down there and walk some streets. Just walk. I've had occasion numerous times to go to downtown Houston and down to Franklin Jail, down Franklin Street. The Harris County Jail is there. And I've had to go to court numerous times and to get in line and go through the scanners and all that kind of stuff. And it just takes time, and it's such a hassle, and everybody knows it's a hassle. So from the time you park a few blocks away in a crowded parking lot, you're caught up in a mass of hurrying, irritated people. Even in the morning, they already know the day's going to be horrible because we're hurrying from 3 blocks away to get in a line and then wait again, and somebody's going to mess the line up there. And it's amusing how angry and irritated some people are already by 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. And just a herd. 3 blocks away from the county courthouse, and then you just get caught up at the red light, and you wait, and your herd gets to move across. And the herd goes by that doorway, and there are two people laying in that doorway right there with no shoes on and ragged clothes and look like they slept there many nights before, and they're not bothering anybody other than the fact that their presence is there. And nobody stops. Nobody talks. Nobody says anything. Nobody does anything. They just hurry by. And then there'll be one little boulder on down there at the next corner, and he'll actually already be panhandling in the morning. He slept down a few doorways, and he'll already be out there asking, anybody got anything? Just a little bit for some cup of coffee, anything, anybody? And the herd just moves. We just get past those people. You got to pass a bunch of them just in 3 blocks because they know people are going to the courthouse. I was passing by one morning, and the herd was moving quickly. I glanced at him, and he had infected feet and bare feet. They were swollen bad and cracked and bleeding. And he literally looked like he was in a coma. And I could tell he'd just been ignored forever. And no shoes going to fit on his feet. I can tell you that right now. Maybe socks, but not shoes. And I did what the herd did. I just got on by. And I got up there and got in line and waited 35 more minutes to get through a turnstile. And then I sat in there for a while, and I found out I got to come back tomorrow morning. And so tomorrow morning I just thought, man, I can't come back down here in the morning and just walk past those folks. I'm going to have to go through McDonald's and get some breakfast and stuff and bring some stuff down here and hand a couple of those people. I got to maybe bring some big socks or something down here for that dude. And so just brought it back, and I felt so weird and wrong. I felt so out of place. I'm pretty sure that I really offended a couple of people. It's like the pigeons. If you don't feed them, maybe they'll quit coming to the sidewalk down here. Don't feed those people because they'll just come to expect it. Don't you dare stand out there in the city street with a handful of popcorn and think birds are, you're just going to make them come and poop forever. Get them out of here. And don't feed the birds. And don't feed him. He's a bum. And I'm telling you, it's a silly thing to feel awkward because the crowd makes you feel, I honestly squatted down and kind of glanced up. I thought I heard a couple of women making a commentary as they walked by. And I glanced up as if to say, really? And then I realized, ooh, I better not say anything. They might beat me up. They look pretty fierce. And so I just squatted down. I said, hey, man, and you know how you apologize? I don't guess he would have cared if I'd eaten half of it, but I thought he probably needs to know I haven't opened it and contaminated it. And I said, hey, bud, I just stopped by McDonald's, and this is a clean breakfast sandwich. I haven't touched anything in the sack if you want it. And he looked at me like I was absolutely crazy. Just crazy. I mean, he really just, he's laying there, and I said, are you okay? Oh, yeah. Have you had anything to eat? I said, no. Do you want this? Well, yeah. Okay. I didn't get a conversation out of him for it. We didn't become best buds. We didn't discuss engineering bridges and the level, the angle of the typical ramp that the Corps of Engineers likes to keep cars going up. That wouldn't be part of our conversation. It was just, you want this? Well, yeah. That's okay, here. Pair of socks, I thought you might. I don't know if you can get them on or not, but I'm sorry for you. Wish I could do something for you. And he literally tried to sit up a bit. And it's time for me to move on. Oh, I wish I had a great story to tell you, what a wonderful guy I was, and I saved him, and he's sitting here in church today, but that's it. It's just one little, for one teeny, tiny crack. I tried to treat a man like a human instead of the entity to which I subscribe, him. He's a beggar. And for one tiny moment, we made eye contact, and he looked bewildered that I stopped and gave him breakfast and looked at him and actually tried to speak. And then I watched as I moved on down, just troubled by myself and my lack of courage, and got on down to the next block, and I had another sandwich for a man that was there the morning before, and he was standing up asking for food. Totally different relationship, attitude kind of mentality, but still, I stopped. Tried to speak to him like a human for a moment. He was funny. He was trying to be funny. He was trying to entertain people as he begged. And And I said, you got quite a personality, dude. You probably should have been in the show business if life had treated you a little bit better. He said, oh, I would have loved that. And then he named 3 or 4 people I've never heard of. And he said, I could have outdone, and he named people's names. I don't know if they were even legitimate names, but he could have outdone them all. And I laughed, and I said, you probably could have. Here, have a breakfast sandwich on me. And then he wanted a hug. I don't hug beggars. I got to go to court. I don't hug smelly people. Well, would you do it for a human? Oh, I'd do it for a human. Yeah, I would hug a human because Jesus died. I told you this wasn't going anywhere. Because here's where you and I live. I'm sorry, was the singing a little too loud today in church? Or was it just not quite the right songs today? Was the sermon boring today? I'm sorry. Were the children too noisy in church? Did we have to get the little buggers out of here? Are the chairs in bad shape? Pews. Are the chairs bad? Did we